American CBS channel, President al-Assad said any aggression on Syria will directly support al-Qaeda-linked terrorist groups. Russia affirms that convincing evidence has been presented by international experts showing that the images on the chemical attack in Damascus suburbs were fabricated. China supports the Russian initiative on putting the chemical weapons in Syria under international supervision. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. In an interview with the American CBS channel, President Bashar al-Assad said, "We would do anything to prevent another crazy war in the region." On the way to respond in case Syria is exposed to aggression, President al-Assad said, "We do not discuss this issue as a government, but we discuss the repercussions, which is more important, because the consequences can sometimes be more destructive than the strike itself. The demolition that an American strike will cause will not be more destructive than that caused by the terrorists." President al-Assad said, "Any strike will directly support al-Qaeda-linked groups like Jabhat al-Nusra and the Islamic State in Iraq and Levant. We are against any weapons of mass destruction, whether chemical or nuclear," President al-Assad stressed. He recalled that Syria had submitted a proposition to the UN in 2001 on rendering the Middle East an area free of weapons of mass destruction, which was then opposed by the USA. "We have not signed any agreement on prohibiting chemical weapons," President al-Assad said, "because Israel, that occupies our land, possesses weapons of mass destruction and has not signed that agreement." President al-Assad emphasized that using chemical weapons is ethically equivalent to a nuclear strike, for at the end of the day, any form of killing is killing and any massacre is nothing but massacre. Sometimes thousands or hundreds of thousands are killed with very primitive weapons, the president added. "We do not discuss the issue of the presence of chemical weapons in the media because we have not said whether we possess or do not possess such arsenal," the president pointed out. "This is a Syrian issue and a military issue that we do not discuss in the media with anyone," His Excellency emphasized.
The United States stood against that proposal. So this is our conviction and policy.
But you're not a signatory to the chemical warfare
Not yet.
agreement.
Not
Why
yet.
not?
Because Israel has WMD and it has to sign, and Israel occupying our land. So that's why we talked about Middle East, not Syria, not Israel. It should be comprehensive.
Do you consider chemical warfare equivalent to nuclear warfare?
And that is a possibility. But it depends on what the media say is nonsense. Or to depend on some of the reports of the intelligence is nonsense, and that has proven when they invaded Iraq 10 years ago and they said Iraq has stockpile of.
The Russian Foreign Ministry today declared that international experts have presented convincing evidence showing that the images of the victims of the alleged chemical attack in Damascus suburbs on the 21st of last month were fabricated. The ministry was quoted by Russia Today website as saying that the international experts presented such evidence about the attack during the 24th session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva. It is to be noted that Syria, in accordance with an agreement signed with the UN, had allowed the UN inspectors team access into Damascus suburbs to verify the use of chemical weapons by the terrorist groups, as the US and its allies hastened to accuse the Syrian government without waiting the results of the investigation. Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign and Expatriates Minister Walid al-Moallem has said that during his talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov, the latter presented an initiative on chemical weapons. In a press statement from Moscow, Al-Moallem added that the Syrian Arab Republic welcomed the Russian initiative out of the Syrian leadership's keenness on Syrian citizens' lives and the security of the country, and on the basis of the Syrian government's confidence in the wisdom of the Russian leadership and of President Vladimir Putin and his efforts to prevent the American aggression against the Syrian people. Syria's stand has been voiced in the wake of the proposal declared by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on putting the chemical weapons in Syria under international supervision to avoid the American military strike. Lavrov had appealed in a press statement to the Syrian leadership not only to reach an agreement on putting the chemical arms warehouses under international supervision, but also on destroying them and joining the International Organization of Prohibiting Chemical Weapons. Lavrov said Moscow is working with Syria on a plan to implement the Russian initiative. In a joint press conference with his Libyan counterpart Mohammed Abdelaziz in Moscow today, Lavrov said his country is working with Syria to prepare a plan to implement the Russian initiative on putting chemical weapons under international supervision. Lavrov added that work is underway to implement the plan in cooperation with the UN, the Security Council's members and the Organization on Prohibiting Chemical Weapons. Lavrov said the UN inspection team should return to Syria to complete their work and submit a full report to the UN Security Council. China has expressed its welcome and support for the Russian initiative to put the chemical weapons in Syria under international supervision, as long as this step would pave the way for a political solution to the crisis in the country and help preserve peace and security in Syria. Leader of the Democratic majority at the American House of Senate, Senator Harry Reid, has said that the initial voting scheduled at the House tomorrow Wednesday on a draft bill that allows a military strike has been postponed following the Russian initiative on chemical weapons in Syria. On his part, American President Barack Obama said the Russian proposal is a development that may be positive in the conflict, promising to deal with it in a serious way. Obama said he was not confident over the Congress support for him regarding the Syrian file. The American president added that his Secretary of State, John Kerry, will discuss this initiative with his Russian counterpart in Moscow. Meanwhile, a new opinion poll in the U.S. conducted by the New York Times Daily and the CBS News Channel has revealed the opposition of the sweeping majority of American citizens to any aggression on Syria.
To ensure that the blatant use
Welcome back. Under the title "Over Our Dead Bodies," Syrians formed a human shield on Mount Qasiyun with the aim of protecting their country from any possible U.S. aggression.
Non-governmental organizations continued their campaign of forming human shields on Mount Qasiyun, which overlooks the capital Damascus, with the aim of protecting the strategic sites, including the transition towers of Syrian TV stations that are erected there and the other institutions that might be a target of any possible U.S. aggression on Syria.
First of all, it's not the idea of one person, it's the idea of a lot of persons who wants to be active, to do something to this country. We are not here just to say in which side we are. We are here as a Syrian, and our call is to Syrian, to not only to Syrian, and to all free people in the world who wants who believe that peoples have the right to decide their future, they have to come and to stay with Syria, because Syria stays with them all the years before Syria.
I want to send this message. We came here to say that we don't like the foreign countries to interfere in our Syrian affairs. We are Syrians and we know how to make the civilization.
Over 10 days, tents have been erected on Mount Qasyun, where hundreds of volunteers have been camping around the clock, sending a message to the world that Syrians will not stand handcuffed, but they will defend their country with their own bodies.
I'm living here and camping here with all these people from 9 days. We are getting here to save our country from the American attack. We are ready to defend our country by our blood.
We are strong people. We defend our army. We have a strong army, strong alliance.
We are here because we are all Syrians, and we came here just to say we are all against the war on Syria.
Encouraged by calls on Facebook, increasing numbers of volunteers joined the Human Shield, including foreign media men and expatriates who flocked in a show of solidarity.
I want to say that we have wonderful morale, we are ready to resist, and Syria will be victorious, whatever are the pressures and the aggression.
We are here to send a message that we are a peaceful people. We are here to defend our country. We are here to stop all this nonsense about Syrians. Peace is our goal in life. And the peace which we are looking for is leading to the freedom which nobody is able to get it when they fight.
After taking their meal following a second day of fasting in response to the calls by Pope Francis for the sake of peace in Syria, the volunteers signed a petition to the UN asking to prevent the attack on their beloved country. From the Mount of Qasyun, the people of Syria decided to stay defiant against any aggression. It's a spontaneous call to defend their country with their own bodies. But will this call find an echo within the hearts and the minds of the people? It's Sousan Badr from Qasyun Mountain for Syrian Television News in English.
And finally, in Homs, special Syrian Arab army units captured a Mitsubishi car carrying weapons and ammunition near Al-Wa'ar neighborhood. The driver of the car was soon arrested. The seized weapons included war rifles, sniping guns, motor guns, and an anti-tank rocket, in addition to medical equipment, religious books about Salafists, and a large amount of explosives, including 30 explosive devices containing the high-exploding C4 substance, gunpowder bags, and fuses. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region, and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Prime Minister Dr. Wael Al-Halaqi asserted that Syria is committed to having the best relations with the UN and its organizations and a strategic partnership with them. During a meeting with the UN Coordinator for Humanitarian Relief and Security in Syria, the UN Development Programme representative Yaqub Al-Hilu, Al-Halaqi said the solution presented through the political program approved by the Syrian government is the only safe way out of the crisis in Syria, which would lead to national dialogue in the country without foreign interference or dictation. For his part, Al-Hilu hoped that the sound of reason and wisdom will prevail at the international level regarding the crisis in Syria, asserting that the call for war is a losing adventure and Syria will overcome the ordeal thanks to the strength and determination of its people. The marketing manager at the Ministry of Agriculture has affirmed that the ministry follows the terms of the national program regarding the agricultural sector, noting the importance of supporting and marketing the agricultural products in the local and international market. The manager also added that the main objective of the agricultural technical team is to make an intersection between the ministry's network and the network that would be implemented by the national program. The prices of the crude oil fell for a second day as futures dropped at 1.2%. Brent for October settlement decreased 1% to reach $112 a barrel. U.S. stocks rose as experts from China topped forecasts and corporate acquisitions fueled optimism in the world's largest economy. European stocks also advanced to a three-week high as data showed that the Chinese industrial production and retail sales rose in August, adding to signs that the global economy is rebounding. In the local news, the Jewelers Assembly set the price of 21-carat gold at 8,400 Syrian pounds per gram, while the Rashadi golden coin was set at 62,000 Syrian pounds and the English coin was set at 69,000 Syrian pounds. The yen weakened for a second day against the euro. Japan's currency declined versus all of its 16 major counterparts, as the Bank of Japan's meeting last month showed policymakers agreed that the effects of monetary easing were taking hold. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.